Before we dive in, gather close to the fire. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a reckoning, a whisper from the shadows of truth and betrayal. If you crave shocking tales of love, secrets, and the unbelievable twists life throws at us, hit that subscribe button now and ring the bell. Because on this channel, the truth never waits. And neither do consequences. The sun rose over the coastal town of Lintonville like a golden promise. The air was crisp with the scent of sea salt and blooming roses. Inside the grand whitewashed manor of the Harrington estate, everything was perfect. Victoria Windsor, the bride-to-be, stood in front of her mirror in a room soaked with sunlight. She was breathtaking. Her gown, a delicate blend of silk and lace, clung to her like destiny. Her bridesmaids buzzed around her, laughing, spraying perfume, adjusting veils. Across town, in a high-rise suite, Nathaniel Cross adjusted the cuffs of his custom tuxedo. A man of quiet charm and deep convictions, Nate was the kind of groom every mother prayed for. Successful, respectful, and entirely devoted to the woman waiting at the altar. Today was supposed to be the beginning of forever. But hidden inside one bridesmaid's phone was a message that would incinerate everything. Sophia, Victoria's maid of honor, was the only one who looked uneasy. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked her phone again. It had come in an hour ago. An anonymous text. If he reads this before saying I do, everything ends. If not, she wins again. Attached, a photo. Blurry, but unmistakable. Victoria, with another man. In a bed. Timestamp. Sophia's stomach churned. She had known her best friend for years. Wild, unpredictable but loyal. Still this was beyond reckless. And that timestamp. It was dated 4 nights ago. Guests began filling the outdoor garden, lined with lavender and white orchids. A string quartet played softly under the arch where Victoria and Nate would soon be wed. Sophia walked out to the fountain, her heels clicking anxiously on the stone path. She stared at the message again. The number wasn't saved. The sender was unknown. The implications were nuclear. She looked up. Nate was approaching, smiling, heart wide open. He hadn't seen it yet. She had to choose. Destroy the day now or protect her best friend's secret. At least until the ceremony was over. She made her choice. And it would haunt her. Inside the bridal suite, Victoria stared at herself with a tight smile. Her fingers trembled slightly as she adjusted her veil. Her eyes, though lined with mascara and confidence, betrayed something deeper. Guilt. 4 nights ago. A mistake. A moment of weakness. Champagne, loneliness, and the soft whisper of temptation. She had told herself it meant nothing. That it didn't matter if no one ever found out. But secrets like cracks in porcelain always spread. She looked toward the window and whispered a desperate prayer. Please, just let this day go through. I'll never look back. Just this once. Please. But outside the door, fate had already taken its seat in the front row. In the last row of the garden, dressed in soft blue with oversized sunglasses, sat a woman no one recognized. Her name was Camilla, Nate's ex. Years ago, they'd had a whirlwind love affair, one that ended with bitter silence and broken promises. Camilla had left town, left the country even. Until today. She watched as the guests settled in. Watched as Nate took his place at the altar. And in her pocket, her phone buzzed. Ready. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. Sophia approached the altar quietly, pulling Nate aside just before the ceremony began. I need to give you this, she whispered, handing him her phone. Nate raised an eyebrow. It's about Victoria, she added. He hesitated, then looked down. The message. Photo. Timestamp. The world stopped spinning. Nate stood frozen, the breeze tugging at his coat. Around him, the guests whispered, sensing the delay. The pastor cleared his throat. Victoria arrived at the top of the aisle, radiant, beaming. But Nate didn't move. Didn't smile. Didn't even blink. He just stared at her. And for a brief moment, the entire wedding held its breath. Victoria walked slowly, her veil swaying. She noticed Nate's expression. Unreadable, almost cold. Her heart thundered. Did he know? Had someone told him? She reached the altar. He didn't take her hand. She whispered, "Is something wrong?" He whispered back, "We'll talk after." But the fire was already lit. The pastor began, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered." Nate interrupted. "Before we continue," he said calmly, "I want to say something." Hush fell. He turned to the crowd, then back to Victoria, and he pulled a paper from his coat pocket, the printed version of the text and the photo. "I was going to marry the woman I thought I knew," he said, voice shaking. "But 4 nights ago, she made a different vow with someone else." Screams. Silence. He dropped the mic literally on the white carpet and walked away. The wedding hall was abuzz with murmurs. Though laughter still laced the air, an unshakable tension seeped into the ambience like a slow, creeping fog. People sensed something had shifted, but they couldn't quite place it. Jason had returned to the altar after reading the text, his face carved in stone. He hadn't uttered a word. Even the officiant noticed the shadow looming behind his eyes. Emily, dressed in cascading white lace, stood across from him, still radiant, but her smile began to fade. The silence was loud. Too loud. From the corner of the hall, Alex, Jason's best friend, shifted uneasily. He had seen Jason's expression after the text and knew, whatever it said had broken something fundamental. Then came the whispering. First from the bridesmaids, then the groomsmen. Guests tilted toward each other like dominoes, leaning in unison, trying to decode the tension. Some assumed cold feet. Others wondered if the groom had had too much champagne. But in the center of it all stood Emily, still oblivious to what Jason knew. She watched his clenched jaw and empty eyes, sensing the unraveling even before the thread had been pulled. He finally spoke, but not to her. "Father," Jason said, turning to the officiant, "I need a moment with the bride. Alone." It wasn't a request. It was a demand veiled in courtesy. The officiant glanced toward Emily, who hesitated but nodded. They disappeared behind the velvet curtains just off stage. The crowd waited. Inside the room, away from the eyes of 200 guests, Jason held up his phone. He didn't say a word at first. Emily blinked, confused then concerned. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice soft. Jason finally handed her the phone. The screen glowed. One message. Sent from an unknown number. "Ask your precious Emily what she was doing at the Delacroix Hotel 3 nights ago. Suite 614. She wasn't alone." Emily's face went pale. Her fingers trembled as she held the phone. I can explain," she whispered. Jason stepped back. "Don't," he said sharply. "Don't start with that. Just answer the question." But Emily didn't. She looked away. That silence told him everything. The two stood there, the would-be bride and groom, on the edge of devastation. Emily gripped her dress as if to anchor herself. Jason's hands were clenched so tightly. His knuckles were as white as her gown. "I went there to meet someone, yes," Emily finally said, her voice hollow. "Who?" She hesitated. "Marcus." Jason's heart dropped. "Your ex." Emily nodded. "It was a mistake. I just wanted closure." He laughed bitterly. "Closure? In a hotel room?" Tears welled in her eyes, but he didn't soften. "Not this time. You were with him 3 nights ago, and today you're walking down the aisle to marry me?" She said nothing. Jason stared at her, the woman he had imagined growing old with. Suddenly the years of memories, the engagement, the house they picked together, it all felt like a hallucination. "I need air," he muttered and stormed out, leaving her behind in a room that now felt colder than ice. Back in the hall, the guests stared at him as he walked past them, alone. No bride. No smile. Just storm clouds behind his eyes. Outside, the wind had picked up. It matched the storm inside Jason's heart. Emily, still behind the curtain, looked at herself in the mirror. The reflection felt like a stranger. The wedding dress once symbolized love. Now it clung to her like a lie she could no longer carry. Her mother found her, rushing backstage with panic in her eyes. "What happened?" she asked. Emily broke down. Her knees gave way, and she crumbled to the floor. "He knows." Her mother pulled her close. "Then we fix it. We talk to him. He loves you." But Emily shook her head. "I don't deserve it." Back in the main hall, Jason stood at the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said. The room fell silent. "There's been a change." Emily's father stood halfway from his chair, unsure what was coming. Jason continued, "There will be no wedding today." Gasps erupted. A woman fainted in the third row. But Jason didn't flinch. Sometimes you find out too late that the person you planned your future with never really left their past behind. He placed the microphone down. Then he walked out. Alex followed Jason outside. "Wait," he called. Jason turned. "You knew, didn't you?" Alex didn't answer immediately. "I suspected," he admitted. Jason stared at him, betrayal doubling. "You didn't tell me." "I had no proof. I didn't want to ruin everything based on a rumor." Jason's laugh was harsh. Turns out a rumor was more than enough. Alex placed a hand on Jason's shoulder. "What are you going to do now?" Jason looked up at the sky. "I don't know." Back inside, a woman stood alone near the back. She wore a black dress, her red lipstick the only pop of color. No one noticed her, not yet. But she had sent the text. She took a sip of champagne, then slipped the phone back into her purse. "I told you, Emily," she muttered to herself. "No one steals Marcus from me." Then she walked out. Days passed. The wedding venue issued refunds. Vendors packed up the memories of a love story that never quite made it to the "I do." Emily moved back in with her parents. She didn't eat much. Her phone barely rang. The world she built, her image, her plans, cracked into 1,000 pieces. Jason disappeared for a while. Deleted social media. Took time off work. He hiked. Wrote in a journal. Talked to no one. Until one day he saw a little coffee shop, walked in, and met someone. A stranger with soft eyes and no past connected to his pain. He smiled. For the first time in months. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was peace. And for now that was enough.